You know, I'm a logical guy, and logic says if I was talking and needed to talk to or talked at, whatever it is, about something I allegedly did to investigators, I think I would talk to them if I did nothing wrong. If I did something wrong, I think maybe that I would walk away. Talking about Michigan. Today may be D-Day. I'll explain as Don't At Me starts right now. Everybody had a monster weekend. I certainly did. It was a boom weekend for gambling, and I don't even want to talk about it, but I tell you what, we have a new goal, and that's to make $100,000 sports gambling on college basketball, and it all starts with the game that I will get to here in a minute. But before we do, and we will get into the NFL, but before we do, I got to tell you, I've had enough of this little Connor Stalions guy. This little Connor Stalions guy resigns. Now, let me ask you a question. He is the sign stealer at Michigan, the former military guy that was sniffing around like a little biatch, stealing signs at the behest, apparently or allegedly, of the entire Michigan staff. Whether Harbaugh knew or not, we don't know for sure. But here's the deal. Let me ask you a simple question. If you were under investigation that was going to cost you ever having a role in your favorite career, a career that you love, and you did nothing wrong, would you talk to investigators? I would assume the answer is yes. Hey, look, man, I got nothing wrong here. I'll talk to you. What do you need to know? Did you do this? Nope. Is that nope. If you did something wrong, and you know you did something wrong, and you want to make damn sure that you take the fall for it because you love the school, you resign, as this little Connor Stalions did. You walk away, you say, I'm not cooperating. That's what you do. If you did nothing wrong, the truth shall set you free for the most part. Now, not necessarily with the media, but who cares? With the NCAA, if you want a career, look, here's the deal. This guy stealing signs for Michigan took Jim Harbaugh from 0-5 against Ohio State to 2-0. This guy took Jim Harbaugh from being fired or almost being fired, losing wages, to now he's maybe the highest paid coach in the Big Ten. This mattered. And you can make a direct correlation to when this guy started, and he started all stealing signs. That's how important this was. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but without that guy, all of a sudden Michigan gave up the most points they gave up the entire year to Purdue. And I'm going to get into coaches who are uber pissed off, and they should be. But doesn't what I'm saying make sense to you? I mean, we're reasonable people here at Don't At Me. We're reasonable on the YouTube chat. We're reasonable. If I did nothing wrong, I'll sit and I'll talk to you, and I'll tell you exactly how I did nothing wrong. If I did something wrong, I lawyer up. I would lawyer up either way. I come from a family of lawyers. I understand lawyering up. I understand I'm not talking to anybody, I don't care who it is, without a lawyer present. I get all that. But if I did nothing wrong, I got no problem. No problem. In fact, if I did nothing wrong and I had a deposition, which isn't come yet, I would want that out there, unless I just didn't want the publicity. I was supposed to be deposed in the Bob Knight case. And I told him, I go, look, I don't need me out here in public. I never wanted to have a mugshot. I never wanted to be deposed. I never wanted to have one of those cameras on me where I'm being asked questions. I'm like, screw that. So I'll tell you whatever you want to know, but I know you'll all leak it. They said no. I said yes. Next thing you know, a year later, Pat Knight, deposition leaked. I didn't do it, but I said, I'll tell you whatever I know. I don't know. But you don't, if you absolutely did nothing wrong, you don't resign because you don't get paid. You stand and you tell exactly how everybody in the operation did nothing wrong. If Jim Harbaugh did nothing wrong, this guy would have been the perfect guy to talk to investigators and say Jim Harbaugh did nothing wrong. Nothing. Didn't know about it. Yeah, he put out a statement from a lawyer. And this is what exhausts me. Now, let's get into the most important piece of this. The most important piece of this is a statement. Well, let's break it down for you because I want to get into the coach's part. But let's go to the statement from Michigan, and it confirms reports that couple of things. This Stalions guy did resign. So here it is. Connor Stalions resigned his position with Michigan Athletics this afternoon. We are unable to comment further regarding this personnel matter. Okay, why? Explain it to me, Spanky. Explain it. I'm in, man. I'm in. So then this guy, Stalions' attorney, says, hey, Connor chose to resign because recent stories regarding his time with the University of Michigan created a distraction, the old distraction for the team. He hopes his resignation will help the team and the coaching staff focus on tomorrow's game against Purdue and the remainder of the season. Connor also wants to make it clear that to his knowledge, although he is seen on the sideline telling Harbaugh what's coming next, but it's to his knowledge, right? All right, neither Coach Harbaugh nor any coach or staff member told anyone to break any rules or were aware of improper conduct regarding the recent allegations of advanced scouting. Okay, let's break that down just for a second. To my knowledge, well, there is video of Connor Stalions telling Harbaugh what's coming on the next play. There's plenty of video of him doing that. There is a budget, which David Hookstead, our friend at OutKick.com, wrote a great article about. See, here's the deal. Michigan is trying to pin this on Ryan Day and the relationship Ryan Day's two brother had with private investigators. And they are trying to say that the Washington Post article about budgeting for Connor Stalions, travel plans for Connor Stalions, were obtained illegally. Well, what that does is that confirms the story. That confirms that Connor Stalions was doing that. It confirms that Michigan budgeted for Connor Stalions. It confirms that Michigan had travel plans for Connor Stalions to go and to scout. Now, this is not a great mystery. Every coach that I have spoken to in the Big Ten, and now I've spoken to 5, have all said the same things. We knew about it. Here is an anonymous, and I don't know why you'd want to go anonymous. I mean, there's no reason to go anonymous. Everybody in the Big Ten that is a coach should be speaking up like Ryan Walters. But here is an anonymous coach. You ready for this? He spearheads the operation. I once told Stalions, we know what kind of S you're pulling, and it's effed up. So you're telling me, let's just take this logically because I'm a logical guy. Let's just take this, okay? So Stalions was doing all this crap in Michigan's football office, budgeted, it's confirmed, travel plans confirmed, and every coach in the Big Ten knew about it except Harbaugh? Is that what you're telling me? Now I want you to look me in the eye here. DTET fan, I want you to look me right in the eye and you tell me. Ryan Walters said, hey, it's not hearsay, it's not allegations, it's a fact. We got all the evidence. Ryan Walters is a head coach at Purdue. I don't know if you saw the drive-by handshake, but you know what? Coaches don't respect Harbaugh. They don't. They know he's a cheat. They know he's a liar. His own school knew he was a cheat and knew he was a liar. So guess what? They suspended him 3 games. Don't even at me about it, Michigan fans. That's a fact. Yes, your president came out and asked for leniency. Yes, your president is taking team pictures. Yes, your president doesn't care about cheating or lying or hiring guys to be nefarious and break rules. He doesn't care about that. He cares about football winning. And he, ladies and gentlemen, is considered a hero. J.J. McCarthy, after the game, talked about, oh, my God, it's great. Well, you've admitted your coach is a cheat and a lie by suspending him, and you supported it. Now you've admitted that you budgeted travel and money to Connor Stalions to go scout on teams. You've admitted it. And yet you want to extend the coach. What does Michigan man mean exactly? East Coast D-bag. That's what Michigan man means. Yeah, look at it. Just follow it. Look at the student population, the East Coast douchebags. I mean, I remember sitting there when Andrew was playing at Michigan. My son went to Michigan. I paid $52,000 a year. Thank God ESPN was overpaying me for years. I paid $52,000 a year until my son got a scholarship his senior year. I love Michigan. but I would sit there and look at these little punk-ass kids and be like, East Coast douchebag, West Coast, East Coast. I could pick them out like it was frickin' candy corn in peanuts. That's how much I could pick them out. Douchebag, East Coast, douchebag, that's West Coast. I'm not going to tell you how I do the West Coast kids, but it was pretty frickin' easy. I'll let you make your guess. Ryan Walters did the drive-by. Other coaches have had enough. This is a major story, and it may come down today. I hope it comes down during the show. The dude resigns. He doesn't cooperate because he's guilty as hell. And don't give me this crap about innocent until proven guilty. This is not a court of law. It's not a court of law. This is football. This is NCAA football. I got the goods. Show me that you didn't do it. Well, you know, Connor's not talking, and he said, yeah, that's an honorable dude right there, that Connor dude. There's a picture of him and me floating around, I guess. I showed it on Twitter. I'm all in on it. Yeah, you know, it's just fascinating to me. It is just fascinating that Michigan fans, why is it that all these places, like Joe Paterno with his Next Great Society, why is it that all these coaches, all these places with all these slogans end up being the biggest dirtbags out there? Is it like Shakespearean, he doth protest too much? I think it is. At Indiana with Coach Knight, hey, we weren't dirtbags, but we beat the crap out of you in practice. I mean, just for S's and G's. But we didn't have slogans. So Michigan gives up more points than they've given up all year in a game against Purdue. And Purdue stinks. But I love their coach, Ryan Walters, when he said, these aren't allegations, we got it. I was hoping Walters would punch Harbaugh. And if you noticed, Harbaugh didn't go all Jim Schwartz and stuff something in his pocket like he did in the NFL. He didn't do any of that. Frauds everywhere, a fraud. Fraud everywhere, a fraud. Talking out the scenery break. Never mind. All right, let's go to college football. Hey, it was kind of a fun game. There's no defense in college football. I mean, look, I understand we're supposed to say everybody's great. I understand Jaden Daniels should be the Heisman Trophy winner until he's great. I understand that Caleb Williams is crying. Caleb Williams is a freaking drama queen. Caleb Williams makes me lift a cheek. Caleb Williams, every single game, there's some drama with this guy. He's a quarterback at USC. He jumps in the stands and he's crying with his mom. Did you know a year ago he made fun of Max Duggar on Twitter for crying in a press conference? It's always the same with these clowns. So this guy, every single game, yeah, he's a good player. He ain't no generational, greatest quarterback in NCAA history. My backside. Nobody plays defense. And did you watch Penix go against, who's playing defense to the point where USC fired their coach? Alabama, LSU. Anybody playing defense? I guess once Jaden Daniels went out, who is really good. And you all can kiss my backside not liking Brian Kelly as a coach. You got your little guy here. You got your Marcus Freeman. How'd that work out this weekend? We'll get into that in just a moment. But anyway, there's no defense in college. There's flags in the NFL, and I'm going to get into why. I've told you this before. So anyway, Alabama takes down LSU. And I got something to say here. If I'm an NFL team, I'm drafting Jalen Milroe. Jalen Milroe, I watched more football this weekend. Here's what I did. Friday, I played golf. I had beers. I had a great time. And I beat some dudes out of $80 and they didn't pay. I'm not happy. They did buy me a couple beers, but that ain't $80. Anyway, Saturday, I got up. I played golf again. It's 65 degrees. My boy Tommy Fine and I, we went out and played. I beat him out of $145. That's right. If you're watching, Phil Sack, that's what I did. 145, glorious day. Went home, started doing yard, but had football on the entire evening into the night. Yesterday, I was supposed to play golf, but I'm like, look, I got to get some yard work done. Lee's out of town. You know, I had to get the hookers out of the house. I had to get you know what I mean? I had to get them out of the house. Get out, go. No, go. Grab the thong and go. I had to get the blow out of the house. I'm in bed by 10 if you want. Like, I played golf and had beers. I was home by 6:30. Buddy of mine, we went over. He drove us over. We're sitting there playing. I go, hey, you ready to go? He goes, yeah. I go, what time is it? It's 6:30. Time to go home. The girls come over at midnight when my wife's out of town. You know how we do. That sleep number bed gets, you know what? We got to unplug it. Because I don't need Lee looking at seeing, well, never mind. I'm being gross here. I'm sorry. But I do kind of get a kick out of myself. Look, I'm sitting in a basement talking to myself. Seriously. Can't I make myself laugh once in a while? Anyway, so I'm watching football week. And one thing I learned, there's no defense in college, and the NFL refs suck. My God. And it's all because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I'll get into it in a minute. Call me whatever you'd like. Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, baby. See, here's what you don't do. Sam Hartman was all the rage. Number one quarterback in the draft, somebody said. Throws the ball deep, up. No, he shaved his beard. I don't understand. You never mess up. You never mess with stuff. So now Notre Dame goes into Clemson and just gets belly whomped. Now, I understand Notre Dame beat USC, but is that great a win? Is it really that great a win? I mean, are we really that excited about that win? So Notre Dame goes into Death Valley. A buddy of mine, the great Cam Safali, was there, and he's like, Dan, this place was unbelievable. He goes, look, you got the lake. He goes, people are, he goes, it was unbelievable. They were ready for Notre Dame, and they beat the crap out of it. And Dabo Swinney said, hey, better buy stock right now. Better buy stock right now in Clemson. Look, Notre Dame's got the players coach. He's cute. The girls love Notre Dame's quarterback. The women love Notre Dame's coach. Great. Boy, oh boy. They went into Clemson and got boot stomped. Is that what we call it in the South? Danny, I got to tell you, you come down here and you talk about Kentucky that way, we going to boot stomp your ass. How about that face? That's old man face. Anyway, Notre Dame looked like ass. Next thing you know, Hartman can't play. He's throwing interceptions. He's throwing ducks. You don't shave your beard in the middle of the season unless you're on a losing streak. And then you shave everything. You don't come out with a cheesy mustache. I've told people this all the freaking time. Unless you're LeBron James or an all-time great, you don't worry about brand. You don't worry about, well, I'm going to shave my beard and make a cheesy mustache. Shut up. It's like that Cooper Kupp guy at Indiana wearing a headband in the NCAA tournament game for Indiana. You don't do it. You just don't do it. You worry about one thing and one thing only, winning. And then shave your ass and walk backwards if you want to. Who cares? Do I have to educate the masses on everything? Texas, I don't even care about Texas. Florida State, I don't care about Florida State. They both won. Georgia, you know, people are critical of Georgia because they only won by 9 against a team that's in the top 25, 15. Like, what are you supposed to win by 100 every time? Isn't the other coach on scholarship too? Doesn't he make a lot of money too? Don't they have players that are getting NIL money? I mean, Missouri's one of the richest programs in America, at least they used to be. And you're telling me, what are you saying to me, people? You're saying to me you're supposed to win by 100 every night? Same thing with Ohio State. Oh, my God, they were down the Rutgers. They beat them by 1,000 in the second half. People are starting to give me a headache, and I don't need a headache today. I don't need a headache. I'm feeling pretty good. I don't have any internet, but I'm feeling pretty good. And thank you for being here, by the way. You folks are the greatest. Somebody described us, I think it was Rudy Martzke, described us as the most interesting morning show in the country. And he's not wrong. Oh, I did like Oklahoma State. I did, man. See, Oklahoma's got the square-jawed Venables, man. He's the defensive guy, man. Yeah, well, and I like Stoops' kid. Stoops' kid catches everything. But OK State started out like 2-0, and they've run the table since. And that's the last Bedlam game. I love Bedlam in basketball, and I love it now in football. They tore down the goalpost. They went traditional. They threw it in the river. How good is that? And the biggest win of the weekend, Indiana University. Ladies and gentlemen, IU came off the mat. They loved each other. LEO, Tom Allen says. And they beat Wisconsin. Hookstead, baby. Hookstead. Luke Finkle was supposed to set us free, baby. He was supposed to lead us into the next generation. The modern coach is here. Yeah, I don't know, man. Looked like the same crappy Wisconsin. Not crappy. Wisconsin's always been good. Indiana wishes they were Wisconsin. But, hey, it didn't look any better. And Neon Dion, I don't know what he was doing. He changed offensive coordinators, and whoever the offensive coordinator was at the end of the half, if you saw it, they're throwing the ball and acting like idiots. Next thing you know, they give up a touchdown. It was ridiculous. And then Sanders comes in at halftime and blame with the announcer and blames everybody except his son, and then he realizes it and then blames his son. 4-5, I get it. He's always going to have, they won one game last year. You're right. I'm all in on it. I'm anxious to see what happens. I am. But I got to tell you, the end of the half showed a very, 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 very poorly coached team. So there you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, NFL. I may be wrong about this. In fact, I'll admit to being wrong right now, even though we're only halfway through his first year. But C.J. Stroud, I didn't know. I didn't like his eyes. I'm 2-1 on eyes. I'll get to the Porzingis 1. I'll get to the 2 in a minute. But I did not like C.J. Stroud's eyes. I did not like the way he played except against Georgia. And that should have told me all I needed to know. 470 yards yesterday, but that's not the thing. Like the NFL, if they're not throwing a flag, you're completing a pass. Right? And then when a team gets going too much, then they'll start throwing flags and back them up. But here's the deal with Stroud. He did it late. And he made comeback, boom, 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 boom. That's where you're big time. In the NFL, big possums walk late. Hey, Dakich, what the hell does that mean? That means everybody can hit at 3 o'clock, but the game starts at 7. Everybody can drop 10 to 15 to 20 points in the first half, but usually the game starts in the last 5 minutes. NFL, everybody, boom, 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 boom. If you're not blown out or you're not blowing somebody out, the game starts with the last couple of drives. And don't at me about it. And this dude was sensational. The numbers were great, off the chain. But even more than that, he did it late. Yeah, he did. He did it late. And respect. I tip my hat like that little kid, Derek Jeter. I tip my hat. R-E-S, upside down? I don't know. R-E-S-P-E-C-T. I think the P's upside. I don't know which one's upside down. Anyway, Josh Dobbs, a great story. You fans of Indianapolis, very reminiscent, and some of you may or may not remember this, but there was a time in the Grigson regime where everybody was hurt. Hasselbeck was hurt. Luck was hurt. So they got Ryan Lindley, who was an Uber driver, to sign. Josh Freeman, who was sitting on his couch for basically the entire year, to sign. They went out and won a football game. Now, that was at the end of the season, like last game or one of the last games. Well, this is in the middle of the season that Josh Dobbs last Saturday started for the Cardinals, who got shut out, by the way. Poetic justice, karma, And next thing you know, Dobbs comes over, didn't take any reps, didn't do nothing. Starter gets hurt, Dobbs is in, and let's go. And he wins the freaking game. He beats Atlanta. Now, I had bet Atlanta because, that's what I did. How do you not? Well, Atlanta took a big old you-know-what in a bet. How do you lose to a quarterback that hadn't practiced, doesn't know the name, hadn't taken a snap with a team? Now, it's a team game, I get it, but that dude he was throwing dimes, he was getting it done. And he seems like a great dude. I think Tennessee Titan fans knew that. I'm sure Arizona Cardinal fans knew that. Arizona Cardinals cut him. They got, boom, shut out. And Josh Dobbs is a hero. All right, the Green Bay Packers beat the frickin' Los Angeles Rams, but that wasn't even interesting. Why, you ask? Well, because Stafford didn't play. They had like Mark Rippon playing. I'll tell you what was interesting to me, and this was interesting. Here we go again, ladies and gentlemen. Get your calculators out. Without Tom Brady, Belichick lost again. Without Tom Brady, Belichick got his ass kicked. Without Tom Brady, that's what Belichick does. Now, here's the deal. Brady, without Belichick, I don't know. Brady went and won a Super Bowl. Belichick can't beat nobody. Can't beat nobody. And when I say nobody, I mean tell me who. I'm listening. I'm listening. Tell me where. Tell me who. They don't win. And if I'm Robert Kraft, and he was seen saying, yeah, we're just not very good, I don't know what to do. I don't know, man. He's the GM. They got pounded. They should have got pounded, and they did get pounded. I told you, there's always that sliding scale. Brady ended up here, 2 Super Bowls, a Super Bowl win. Belichick can't beat nobody. And I got to tell you, even though I like Bill Belichick, and in a previous life, I knew Bill Belichick, hung out with Bill Belichick, very previous life, lunches when he would come to Bloomington, that type of thing. But I got to tell you, be careful, coaches out there. Be careful, fan bases, loving on a coach. Without Brady, Belichick not very good. But yet, somehow, some way, he is considered, ladies and gentlemen, the greatest coach of all time, man. He's the greatest coach of all time. And I get it. Everybody, oh, man, the chips. We got the chips. Shut up. Shut up, third-team all-conference wrestler. I don't want to hear about it. Here's the deal. Players make the coach. I was dumb enough to learn this. We had a kid who should have been an All-American. Anyway, the kid's name was Keith McLeod. He had about 5 game-winning shots. I remember thinking, oh, man, without Keith, we can run our offense. He was a little ball dominant and emotion offense, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Yeah, I learned about the second game in. Hang on, caller. Get the ball to Keith. Wait, he's not here? Oh, man. No. Belichick, I ain't digging on you. I ain't digging on you. How about a little note for Kevin Stefanski with the Cleveland Browns? Deshaun Watson was okay. Most people, myself included, don't really want to give props to Deshaun Watson. He's just icky. He continues to be icky. Once the facade of Deshaun Watson was over, he just icky. He is. He just icky. Anyway, the deal is simple. The Cleveland Browns have the best defense in the NFL. I mean, they don't mess around. They do not mess around. Myles Garrett will get after you, and they just kick the crap out of you. But let me go through some things here. Let me go through some of my NFL news and notes. All right? Here we go. We talked about C.J. Stroud. But how about Philadelphia? Philadelphia, Dallas. 1 foot, and there's a touchdown. Refs made the right call, then they couldn't get it in. 1 foot by Dak Prescott, out of bounds, couldn't get it in on a 2-point conversion. Man, it's unbelievable. And then you get down and you got a chance to win because Philadelphia is playing like idiots with 46 seconds to go. And guess what? You can't get it in. You're 2 yards short. Let me go back to Brady. I was looking for this. With Tom Brady, 249 and 75. Without Tom Brady, 81 and 94. Man, that ain't good. I mean, is that really good? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. Joe Burrow for MVP. I spent the afternoon, the 4 o'clock window, watching Gardner Minshew and Bryce Young. Bryce Young is horrible. And Bryce Young, unfortunately for Bryce Young, got sold the bill of goods that Frank Reich is a quarterback whisperer. No. Frank Reich, you got to have at least one quarterback that you develop to be a whisperer. You can't just say I'm a whisperer. There is no I'm a whisperer. None. You got to develop somebody. Just because you played backup quarterback doesn't mean you're in a whisperer. His hands are all over Josh Herbert, who we'll see tonight. But Bryce Young throws the ball to the other team. Bryce Young's too little. Bryce Young, how was he the number 1 pick over Stroud? I'm not paid to do it. I mean, I'm not. I'm not. But I got to tell you, the other guys are paid a lot of money, and they didn't know. Burrow, 21 of 44, 348 yards, and the difference between watching Bryce Young and Gardner Minshew and then turning on Burrow was like watching the varsity to the freshman team. It was unbelievable difference. Second time in a row. And don't look now, ladies and gentlemen, but that's a 4-game winning streak for the Bengals. Did you know this about C.J. Stroud? Let me go back to that. C.J. Stroud, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. Hey, Mike McDaniels is all the rage, right? The Finns coach. 6-0 against teams under 500. 0-3 against teams with 500. He's got 5 games against teams over 500 left. All right. Remember this. Remember I told you about Josh Allen's eyes? I'm watching a golf tournament. People can make fun of this all they want, but it just shows that they don't pay attention and have any ass to them. If you don't believe what I'm telling you now, you got nothing. I can't help you. It's like voting for a Biden. If you're going to vote for Biden, I can't help you. There's nothing I can do. Nothing I can do. If you're going to vote for Joe Hogsett here tomorrow in the election, I got nothing for you. There is literally nothing that I can do for you. You're too stupid. Do your thing. Just do it. But, ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got. But, okay, I'm watching golf. What does golf have to do with Josh Allen? Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, Allen. I'm watching. These 3 guys, Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, look like they belong. Allen, bad eyes, looks like a little brother, maybe a little brother. I don't know. And I said at the time, he's a good player, great player. Everybody's a great player at quarterback. I mean, what the hell? You can get but never going to win you the big game. What's the big game? I don't even think the big game, ladies and gentlemen, has to be the Super Bowl. I think to get into the Super Bowl, you've won a lot of big games. Josh Allen's great. Next week he may play fantastic, but he's thrown an interception in 5 straight games. And I'm telling you, in the biggest of moments, the eyes never lie. Now, you say to me, what does that mean? I don't know. It's like that Supreme Court justice said, I don't know. I cannot tell you, but I know it when I see it. And that is what I got about Josh Allen. Hey, Dylan and Ryan and Nick, we got a little video. This is true. This is actually, I want to go back to something. This is our guy Stalions. Connor Stalions. This is a guy that Michigan, the University of Michigan, hired. Check this video out. Eyes. That dude has got crazy eyes. Now, I understand you're the Michigan coach, probably want blind loyalty, probably want everybody to go, hey, well, I just want that guy because he's just so loyal. No. I ain't hiring that guy. I am not hiring that guy. Hey, I don't know if you know this, but Dusty Baker resigned. Dusty Baker has retired. Dusty Baker, God bless you, man. People in Chicago are idiots. Dusty Baker, man, he ruined Pryor and Wood. He didn't ruin anybody. Pryor was a fraud. Pryor was Mark Pryor, Inc., and Kerry Wood was going to throw 1,000 miles an hour and a big hook until his arm fell off, and it did. It ain't Dusty Baker's fault. Dusty Baker put the Cubs within a play of the World Series. Stop it. Just stop it. Anyway, Dusty Baker resigned, and I wish he hadn't done this. I wish he hadn't said this. Dusty Baker said, we had a lot of success here, Ernie and Charles, and then the last couple of months here weren't very pleasant because we weren't 10 games ahead. You spoil people. You think you're supposed to win this every year running away, and it's not like that. Dusty Baker on getting tired of spoiled Astros fans. He said, every year is different. There was a whole bunch of criticism from 30-year-olds and bloggers and tweeters that I'm not doing this, and I don't know that. And I told my wife, I'm kind of tired of this. I'm kind of tired of scrutiny. And if I could manage and show up at, say, 6:30 for a 7 o'clock game, leave 30 minutes after the game, don't for the pregame, postgame, I can manage for another 45 years. After a while, you get tired of answering questions. He's not wrong. He is not wrong. I feel your pain, D-Bake. That's what we call each other. He calls me D-Doc. I call him D-Bake. Oh, boy, spilled stuff. Had to lift up the chair. Stuff everywhere. I'll show you America's grossest tile here in a minute. But anyway, here it is. This is America's grossest tile. It cleans up all my spills down here. Long story short, D-Bake, I feel you, yo. I do. It's like when I'm watching Indiana basketball, and these blogger guys are like, well, here's the floppy action of Indiana. Oh, shut up. Zach Osterman. Well, that was a good analysis. These guys wouldn't know their ass from third base. But, Dusty, I wish you hadn't done it because I don't want you to speak power into these guys. You know what I mean? I don't want you to speak power into these clowns. And you gave them power. Dusty Baker was a terrific player. I'm 100 years old, and I remember him in left field. I do. He was good. He was really good. Every time he came up against my beloved Cubs, and I was like 10 years old or 8 years old, I felt like he always got a hit. But good for Dusty Baker. Hey, Dusty, tell them all to stick it. That's right. I said it. I meant it. Tell every one of them to stick it. I got, 30-year-old with an analytic. Dusty Baker doesn't understand that you don't ever bunt. Okay, right. But anyway, he's not a fan. I'm glad he's retiring. We'll see who they get in there. Probably some young guy that has an analytics degree, or maybe once again somebody will hire Gabe Kapler. But I got to tell you, if I'm them, Joe Madden. Now, I don't know if Joe Madden's style fits because of all the analytics stuff, but it feels like it does. And I think you're going to hear it here first. Don't be shocked. Just don't be. If Joe Madden isn't in the mix. In the mix. I'm not saying they're going to hire him because a lot of things can happen in the hiring process. But don't be surprised if they hire or think about hiring Jolton Joe Madden. We got a monster for you today, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk some NFL football. But I got to tell you, let me go back to my original question. All you guys on the YouTube chat, and my internet sucks, and I've been trying to get there. But let me ask you a question. You get asked, hey, look, you're the center of a national scandal. You are. And you can clear it up because you didn't do anything wrong. What are you talking about? You didn't do anything wrong. Would you do it? Or would you resign and refuse to cooperate if you were innocent? It's not a hard question. I think, not, particularly when you're a young guy and this is like your dream job. I don't think it's a hard question. I think most people would say, hey, look, I didn't do nothing wrong. Here it is. Easy. Absolutely easy. That's easy. Yeah. Right here. Yeah, I did nothing wrong. What do you need to know? Did Coach Harbaugh know? Know what? That you were stealing signs. I didn't steal signs. What are you talking about? If I didn't. Now, I wouldn't go in there and lie. Going in there and lie is stupid. But again, it's not a court of law. It's an NCAA investigation. Now, maybe it becomes a court of law. Who knows? And by the way, I said this before, you Ohio State fans. Remember your President Drake? Remember your AD? Now, I like the AD personally, but when Urban Meyer was going through the complete nonsense of what was the Zach Smith scandal, you know what? The AD, Gene Smith, took a vacation. He did. He took a vacation. He went away. I'm going for a week. You guys handle it. And the president didn't have anybody's back. Nobody's. He had nobody's back. So you know what? Where would you rather coach? Michigan, where the president is taking pictures. The president is supportive. I would rather coach at Michigan than at Ohio State. Both are great schools. Both you got a chance at a national championship. But one of the biggest things in coaching is to have the support of your bosses. The athletic director, the chancellor, president, whatever, whoever's on the top. It is. It's the most important thing. It just simply is. Ohio State didn't have it. Had it with Gordon Gee, didn't have it with that Drake guy. And you know what? Good for the trustees at Ohio State for giving that Drake guy the boot. He was a clown. But hey, Michigan, last thing. What does a Michigan man stand for? Cheating, lying, extending. What? Tell me. At some point, Michigan men, you got to stand up for what's right, whether it costs your little football team or it doesn't cost your little football team. I got Hutton coming up next, Gritty. That's right. I got the bearded one. He's not afraid to keep his beard. Jonathan Hutton next.
A beast of a biological man, Artemis Langford, scored a major pervert victory after a Wyoming district court judge ruled the women, the real women of the Kappa Kappa Gamma sorority, couldn't prevent Langford from living in their sorority house. This despite their claims of Artemis, a 6'2" giant, having a visible erection around the ladies, despite their claims that Artemis would sneak photos of them at slumber parties, despite the fact that trans Artemis is a heterosexual with sexual interest in women and a Tinder profile seeking to match with women. This isn't just a miscarriage of justice. This is a perversion of women's rights, the feminist movement, and the right of real women to feel safe in spaces meant for them. I am repulsed and disgusted. But Artemis? Artemis reportedly broke down in tears after the judge dismissed the lawsuit, saying, quote, "Maybe I can just be another student on campus, another regular sister in the Wyoming chapter of Kappa Kappa Gamma. Maybe I can just be me." Or maybe you could have the decency to allow women to have a safe space of their own in a sorority house without having to be exposed to the outline of your erection, Artemis. But just look at how the joke of a news outlet, the Washington Post, is choosing to frame this story. Her sisters turned on her? Are you freaking kidding me? The situation is egregious enough without the media actively demonizing the women who simply wanted to feel safe in private in their own sorority house. And this is also downright gross. Why should the identity crisis of one biological male trump the safety, privacy, and rights of these young women? This is not a win for inclusion or equality. This is a win for perverts who will use this decision and this BS narrative to prey on women.
Hey, you know him, you love him, you want to see more of him, and he's not afraid. He'll wear his beard. He, unlike Sam Hartman of Notre Dame, man, he knows when he's on a good streak. You keep the beard. Let's get right into this Michigan stuff. The Stalions guy, he resigns. I've said this, and I'm curious your reaction. Please feel free. If I did nothing wrong and I'm at the center of a national store, it's very simple. I go and I talk and I clean this whole thing up. I don't resign and run away from the investigation. If I did something wrong, I lawyer up and get the hell out of there. What do you think?
I mean, he did something wrong. And even his attorney is saying that Jim Harbaugh wasn't aware of the depth that this was going, which is also just ludicrous to me. But this is how loyal they are to the Harbaugh camp. It's Michigan admitted that he had at least done something to put himself in the middle of the investigation because they were the first one to name him in regards, Dan, to the going on leave with pay pending this investigation. So, you fight back if you don't do anything wrong. And in the case of this, I mean, the rules are pretty vague. It's like frowned upon. Not in regards to off-site scouting. And in this case, I mean, there's video of the dude standing on the Central Michigan sideline wearing sunglasses with a blinking light. I mean, that to me, it's not just blatant. It's putting it out there in flashing lights. Hey, look at me wearing Central Michigan gear, working for Harbaugh's staff the very next day on September 2nd. They're laughing in the face of the rule book at that point.
You know, one of the things that I find interesting, and we've never really seen this, coaches are speaking out. I talked to 5 different guys, not head coaches. I haven't talked to head coach, but 5 different guys in different positions at different schools about this. And every one of them is like, yeah, the guy's a cheating blank. We have it. We know it. And Brian Walters came out and said it. Like, these aren't allegations. Yeah. That's interesting to me. That makes this more interesting in my world.
I do. I find that too, Dan. And look, it's I've a lot of coaches, the initial reaction, and even some now are just kind of like, well, look, it happens. Now, a couple of those guys that I've talked to are in the NFL where you can do this. You can't take a camera up top and be Spygate at a Jets-Bengals game the way the Patriots did and get away with it. But you can go off-site and scout. I sit next to the road scouts for any Titans home game for their upcoming opponent and for the visiting sidelines opponent. So I think the coaches are also coming at it from a little bit of that perspective, from the off-site angle. Look, the other part too, Dan, that I find really intriguing is while the Big Ten coaches are close to unanimous in wanting to voice their opinion, I like the fact that Walters did so. I like the drive-by handshake, which the handshake line is, I like it, but I don't like it when people are fake about it. The other thing, Dan, is we knew this last year, apparently. TCU was warned about this in the college football playoff. And if Ohio State, and again, I'm just using Ohio State as an example, if Ohio State knew what was going on and at least perceived that it was going on whenever they took on Michigan a year ago, where we now see video of that sideline too, they could have met for the national championship game, hypothetically, in the college football playoff last year. And nothing came up in regards to any of this until we have this law firm that is allegedly, according to Michigan and the Wolverine.com, linked back to Ohio State because that law firm has ties to Ryan Day's family. If all of that is true, I don't know what took so long in regards to getting this information and then leaking it drip by drip out to the media. If all these coaches, and it may not have been just Ohio State, that contacted TCU staff and said, hey, they're the greatest at this in the world. They've got your signs. Change it up. This past January. And if we were to believe that it took until September for any of this to come and boil to the surface, again, coaches are paranoid. They'll put up, the vinyl around the fence at Middle Tennessee State University so that some random college kid can't walk by and watch practice. But they're not going to put in their suspensions to the Big Ten or the NCAA about Michigan stealing signs. All of this is strange. And in regards to Connor Stalions, it's strange that he's that loyal to Jim Harbaugh and having only been there for 3 years.
The coaching thing I can address. Coaches are always have trepidation about turning in schools. They just won't do it. And the investigators, look, I could care less. Me anyway, if I'm Ryan Day and I know they're stealing signs and I have family that are investigators, let's go. I don't care if it's my brother. But the bottom line is this. The only problem Ohio State may have, tell me if you agree, is if they obtained the travel and budget and all that kind of stuff, like David Hookstead had a great article, if they did it illegal. But Ohio State Michigan talking about it confirms what the report is that they had a travel budget. And they had it in their budget. They had a budget. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the report that the Washington Post put out there that is specific to this allegation. The other stuff could be coming out through different investigations going on that campus. I only say it from this angle, Dan. Why can't Ohio State, if they truly buy into this, why can't they take and they buy into it enough to have the private investigation, again, all alleged, to have them go out and dig this up? Why can't they trust the Big Ten office enough to do that? Or the NCAA, and I'll put the NCAA aside. I wouldn't trust the NCAA either. But that shows like where we are, where and it's not just Ohio State that not just Ohio State, Dan, that thought this was going on, right? It's just they're the ones that allegedly, according to Michigan, stirred it up by hiring the private investigators. Again, it's all strange. It's perfect for college football. I love it. But there's so many layers to it that, to me, need to be the questions that need to be answered in order for it to make sense to me as to why they had to go about it this way.
Well, I'll give you the answer, because when you turn somebody in, they're going to say, okay, prove it. What do you got? And if you just have, well, you know what? They stole our signs. Okay, well, they went and watched games. Okay, that's a violation. But to take it to the NCAA or to take it to the Big Ten in particular, you better have a deeper evidence and that the university,
Right.
and that's why I'm guessing he hired the private investigator. One thing that I learned, I only was involved with the NCAA one time when I left West Virginia. They came and I said, look, I'm not talking to you. I left. It was my choice. Whatever they did, they did. Nobody trusts anybody. And if you're going to go to them, let me put it this way, like everybody else, they don't want a problem, particularly with the cash cow, right? So if you're going to go to the Big Ten or you're going to go to the NCAA, you probably go to the media first to put pressure. Other coaches, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. Other coaches talk to each other. The Michigan coach, the Illinois coach is going to talk to the Purdue coach, is going to talk to the Indiana, blah, 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 blah. So it's one of those deals where here it is, I'm laying this all on you. Now we demand that you do something about it. That's the sense I got, Jonathan.
Well, but the way I take it is the Big Ten and Tony Petitti could choose it, and we don't know how he's going to receive. If it's all, let's just say it's all true, that they have the private investigators, that they were digging this up, but it was obtained illegally. How they obtain that information doesn't change the facts, but it could change the discipline. So if you're going to go to that length to do it, I don't know why you do it to where you're, again, according to the Wolverine.com, they're hearing that Michigan will allege that it was obtained illegally off of Stalions' computer. And also, Stalions is resigning. This is not a one-man show. There are tickets purchased that were never used to the Vanderbilt game here in Nashville. It wasn't going to be Connor Stalions that was going to be here scouting Tennessee. It was going to be someone else, someone he's connected to. There are many people, and if I'm just common sense would tell you, Connor Stalions isn't going to go to random fans and say, hey, man, you interested to go into the Vanderbilt game? No, you would say, hey, I need these signs. And you would go to someone that you trust that isn't going to burn you the same way Connor Stalions isn't burning Jim Harbaugh. There are too many layers to his gig. It's not a one-man show standing on the sideline with $300 pair of Ray-Bans for me just to believe that he's resigning, quote unquote, air quotes, and Jim Harbaugh had nothing to do with this. He's standing on the sideline next to the defensive coordinator. When the offense is on the field, he's next to the OC. It's not just a one-man band like I believe it's being shoved off to the wayside with. And that would tell you there's a reason for him to be silent. And it's more than just him losing a job. He's being, compensated in some way to be silent. And his attorneys even got the back of Harbaugh right now.
And, one of the things that Big Ten coaches say is that they want justice now. They don't want, McAfee talked about it on game day. Yeah, they'll get him in 2030. These guys are like, wait a second here. You know what? We want it now. Do you think there will be any, justice or whatever you want to call it? Will there be a penalty for this year, conference title game, suspend Harbaugh? I don't know. Do you think there'll be anything done this year?
The only justice, the two ways the justice can come down this year. Number one, Ohio State beats Michigan head-to-head. That's number one. Because right now, college football playoff rankings, they're third, Michigan is. And that one loss could knock them down a tier compared to other schedules. Let's just look at Alabama, for instance, and look at what Alabama's done with their loss compared to Michigan, in this case, one loss. Again, the resumes would go towards the Tide just based on the schedule and who's going unbeaten with Michigan's versus who's going unbeaten with Alabama's. Again, just head-to-head, there will be more options, too. There will always be craziness. That's number one, justice. Number two is the Big Ten would have to step in, Dan, and do something. Tony Petitti has the sole authority to go to the sportsmanship policy in the clause and say that this was a standard violation or this was something that is warranting more of a heavy-handed punishment. Standard violation, $10,000 fine, likely a 2-game suspension for Harbaugh, and could be others. And if it's more than that, it goes in front of a committee made up of Big Ten officials, and they would either confirm the penalty that Petitti would put forward, they could lower it, they could lessen the penalty, or they could just not approve it. They can't add to it, but could they? They tried to do this and did during COVID, where they flexed the rules and put Ohio State in. their conference title game. They can try to finagle it however they want. Can he? There's really no structure to what he could put forward. It's just a matter of, does he have the votes with the committee? And once the committee decides on that, Dan, there is no review of that. You can't appeal that the way you could if you wanted to appeal it at the NCAA level on a suspension stance, but you could force legal action. So he's got to be careful if he wants to do it. I'm talking about Petitti, of handing down discipline that isn't so strong that it's going to end up in a court system. And on the flip side, it can't just be some standard flippant policy violation, because again, that's a $10,000 fine and up to a 2-game suspension, which still could get them into the college football playoff. I know it's unlikely to happen, but at least the reports are that the administrators and the coaches now are telling Petitti they want something done. And I mean, if we leave it up to the NCAA, it ends up being something like what happened at Kansas, where Bill Self is, getting off with virtually nothing, and the program that was doing something in 2018 is just now finding out what the discipline is. And I mean, you still win and play those games. It's not like one banner represents memories and a lifetime of hype just because you can't put a year in a media guide.
No, that's exactly right. But you know what? If I were coaches, I would keep pressing. And you know what? Sometimes the AD is at the whim of the coaches. I think this is fascinating, Jonathan. I really do.
And Dan, one last thing. They if the coaches want to keep pressing, they now have to go public with it the way Walters did.
I agree. No, I agree. Tom Allen was asked here in Indiana, and he did a typical stupid Tom Allen, I'm ridiculous, but stupid stuff. But I agree. And if I were a coach and I'm that upset about it, the door has already been opened by Ryan Walters. I mean, I always said this, and I would say this to other coaches in our meetings. I go, look, we criticize each other. I don't care. If somebody's cheating, let's get this out. I said it in my own league. Never, and I never had direct evidence that anybody was doing that. But if I did, I'd have no problem, because coaches will get pissed about if you affect the game. Cheating or all that other stuff, it's like, you know what, we're going to keep quiet, blah, blah, blah. But if it affects the game, their wins and losses, oh, man. And I think it's freaking great. Hey, let me ask you before I let you go. Josh Dobbs was in and started a playoff game. Was it last year, right? I mean, seems like a great guy. You covered him a bit. We good with Josh Dobbs?
I love Joshua Dobbs, man. Look, he in effect played in a playoff game because it was a win and for him and the Titans at the very end of the season. Jags beat them and went to the postseason. But it's crazy that all the details that come out, Dan, about him not taking a single rep last week. Jaron Hall, the 5th-round pick, has the concussion, and then all he does is pull the last-minute comeback victory over Atlanta, coming in and going through the cadence on the sideline with the center. Minnesota's 5-4, and if you look at their schedule, their next 4 games are New Orleans, Denver, Chicago, and I believe the Las Vegas Raiders. New Orleans, Denver, Chicago, and the Raiders. And only the Saints of those teams have a winning record right now. Cam Akers gets hurt. He's out with the Achilles, but Dobbs becomes just the second player since in the Super Bowl era to throw touchdown passes in back-to-back weeks for different teams. Bernie Kosar was the other one. And now it's Dobbs, who has now 11 starts under his belt, and they've all been since last year. And he's been in the league for 7 seasons. It's a crazy story, and he's able to come in and pick up a playbook that well. The concepts is what he did so well. And, I mean, he didn't rep that touchdown pass to win the game one time, even in a walkthrough. He just looked at a playbook.
Awesome.
I commend him, man. And he's making the most of his opportunity, and it's about time.
Thanks, my friend. I'll be talking to you this afternoon around 3:40. Thanks for taking the time with us.
Yeah, thank you. Dan, I always enjoy this, man. I appreciate you.
That's the great Jonathan Hutton. That's right, Gritty. There's your fill of Jay Hutt right there. America's most handsome broadcaster. Jason Hatcher is going to join us. He is a stud, former defensive end. Played with L.A. What is wrong with me? Played with Washington, and he played with Dallas. There are reports that Sam Howell is going to get a long-term contract. I'll give you some info on Sam Howell. Also, we'll continue with the Michigan discussion and your emails, your voicemails, and it's the road to $100,000. I'm going to be up $100,000 in gambling by the end, ladies and gentlemen, of this college basketball season. That's the goal. I got some friends that do it. I'm in. I'm starting. I'm already at 1,700. I'm 1.7% on the way. Let's go. College hoops starts tonight.
Conspiracy theorists are alive and well as it pertains to Trailer, the new coupling of Travis and Taylor. And yesterday, Donovan McNabb on his 5-Spot podcast, which airs right here on OutKick, Chiefs head coach Andy Reid spilled the beans on setting up Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. Listen to this.
So, I mean, I have to ask the question, which is annoying to me, but have you become a Swiftie?
You know what? Like you, I mean, I knew her from Philadelphia. I think her dad was a big NFL fan. So I had met her when she was real young and her dad. And so, I joked about setting Kelce up, but I mean, I'm just saying, you never know.
See, that's something people don't know, that you know her dad. Because
Yeah, right.
she sitting in the box, she looks confused of what's going on, but she cheers with the rest of all
Yeah.
the family members.
Yeah, she's a good girl, man. She's into it. And that's, we're glad she's here.
Amber, should we be getting Andy Reid into the matchmaking business?
I mean, maybe so. But, I think there's a lot of people who want to take credit for that relationship. Yesterday I saw Erin Andrews was on the Today Show yesterday, and she said that she takes credit for it because in her podcast, of course, it all
because she did. She mentioned it. Yeah.
Yep. Back when Travis Kelce was trying to give his phone number to Taylor at the Eras Tour in Kansas City, he couldn't get to her. And so Erin Andrews went on her podcast and she said that, Travis is a really great guy. Give him a chance. Do it for America, Taylor. And then sure enough, it ended up happening. So Erin Andrews is taking credit too. So maybe it was a joint effort and part of a lot of people.
Jason Hatcher, how about this? Can I speak? I think I can. Former Redskins and Dallas Cowboys defensive end, which is interesting to me. It's like Andrew Dakich going from Ohio State to Michigan. All right, I told you this. The road to $100,000. And I'm going to give this pick out numerous times, and here it is. Notre Dame minus 8.5 against Niagara. Now, I'm not going to break it down for you. I'm really not. 2 players on Niagara, all this kind of crap. Notre Dame starting 2 freshmen. I get all that. I'm just going to simply tell you when I make my bets, when I look at gamblers, they all make sense. Like my boy Phil Sack and T. Fine, you know what? They pay attention to all these gambling guys on TikTok, and they all make sense. And then you fade those clowns. I'm not going to make sense. This is not about anything other than who's coaching, the situation of the game, where the game is, who's playing in the game, period. You want to take it? Great. You don't want to take it? Great. You do you. But I'm just telling you, ladies and gentlemen, Daniel J. Dakich, am going to win and get to, by the time the NCAA tournament concludes in April, whenever the hell it is, I'm going to get this to $100,000, and I'm starting with $1,700 today. That's the goal. And I will keep you abreast. Whatever I got to do, maybe I lose and I got to put more money in. Maybe my family goes broke, but I'm reading stuff. I'm reading self-help books, and they tell you, don't care about the future. Live your life. Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. So, ladies and gentlemen, we already bought furniture with the gambling winnings from last week, and we started this little fund. There's a separate fund for football. This is for basketball. 1, 1,700. And tonight, I'm going to not double it. I'm not going to be an idiot, but I'm starting out bigger than usual, taking Notre Dame and Micah Shrewsbury's opener, -8.5 against Greg Paulus and the Niagara, whatever the hell the Niagara is. I know they're purple. Purple Eagles. Let's say the Purple Eagles. They're the Niagara Purple Eagles. There you go. All right. I'm waiting on Jason Hatcher, but I got to tell you. All right. I got to tell you something. There's a lot of talk in the NFL about quarterbacks. How good was C.J. Stroud? Great. How god-awful was Bryce Young? Awful. But nobody's really talking about Sam Howell. I'm going to give you a statistic that you're probably not going to like. In the last 5 games, and I'm watching Sam Howell yesterday, not in the game, I watched his highlights, and I'm like, yo, this guy can ball. He's quick. He throws it. Here's the deal. Listen to this. Sam Howell in his last 5 games has thrown for 1,510 yards, the most in the NFL. He's also thrown for 10 touchdowns, tied for most in the NFL. Now, you got to know this stuff. You got to understand before you go out and be stupid and say, well, you know, there are reports that the Commanders want to view, or they view Sam Howell as their long-term franchise quarterback. Well, I'm going to ask Jason Hatcher if he shows, but I got to tell you, when you look at the last 5 games and you look at how he plays, he's quick, he's got good feet, keeps his eye down the field, makes some bad throws like every quarterback does, but makes some great throws. Like yesterday, I don't know if you watched it, but a sideline throw from Josh Allen was intercepted, and I could have made the catch. Serious business. I could have made the daggone catch. You threw it short. Never throw a lob pass in basketball or a sideline pass in football short unless you're going back shoulder. Never. Never, never, never. Don't do it. You throw a lob pass short, the defense jumps up and gets it. It's automatic fast break. I want you to watch this as college basketball starts. Just have this in the back of your mind. Watch how many lob passes, short, get turned into baskets, either layups or open threes on the other end. It's unbelievable. Like, it's truly unbelievable. You're not going to hear that from any guy on ESPN. You're not going to hear that from any guy on Fox. Those guys don't know their ass from third base. College basketball announcing is the pot of diversity. They put everybody in there because there's so many games. But I got to tell you, watch. And the same thing with a sideline ball. You throw a sideline ball short, unless it's back shoulder. If it's back shoulder out here, okay. But we're going down the field. You throw it short, bad business. Throw a lob pass long, it's a turnover. Who cares? You throw a sideline pass long, it's out of bounds. Who cares? Don't throw it short, period. But anyway, so I'm watching this kid Howell, and I'm thinking to myself, I got to tell you, he's pretty good. Now, I don't know that he's Joe Burrow, but you know what else? Everybody develops on their own time. C.J. Stroud has come in and dominated. C.J. Stroud, hey, look, you look back on it, you're like, what was Carolina thinking? And reports out of Carolina were, ladies and gentlemen, Frank Reich wanted C.J. Stroud. Management, the owner Tepper, didn't, wanted Bryce Young. Carolina's in the South. Guess what? Bryce Young in the South. You never in professional sports, ever in professional sports, sign someone because of personal reasons. Selling tickets, no. Look, if Damon Bailey didn't make the Pacers or Steve Alford didn't get drafted by the Pacers and Reggie Miller did, that tells you never make it personal. Reggie Miller going to the Pacers changed the franchise. Steve, great guy, fantastic coach, wasn't an NBA guy. Just wasn't. And I think I owe a buddy of mine $100. I do. I can't remember. It just hit me. I think I bet Joey Orlich $100 that Alford would be a first-round pick. I'm going to send Joey a check because I don't want to owe anybody when I'm dead. Is Jason on, fellas? I don't see him. Maybe I don't know. I see that he's on here, but okay. All right. Anyway, long story short, here's the deal. If I'm the Commanders, I'm doing it based on 5 games. I'm doing it. Hey, look, if I'm CJ Stroud, I'm just keep doing my thing, man. And I'll tell you this, Houston's 4-4. Houston's 4-4. Colts got a win over the worst team in football, and we're celebrating like it's our job. Houston's 4-4. That's pretty good, and CJ Stroud is getting it done. Jason, you with me? You got me?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hey, thanks for joining us. Jason Hatcher. Now, look, my son played basketball at Ohio State and Michigan. You played football at Dallas and Washington. Now, when I grew up, that's the Hatfields and McCoy, big boy. That's like, hey, we hate each other. Good for you. That means you're tough as hell and you didn't give a rat's. There you go.
Not at all. Not at all.
Hey, Sam Howell. I watched him yesterday. You know what? I was reading some stats. Tied for most touchdown passes last 5 games, most yards last 5 games. You're a Commander. What do you think?
Man, I really like the guy. I told a friend of mine the other day, he's the guy. He got the it factor to him. He's doing everything he needs to be done as a starting quarterback. Plus, they got a damn good defense, which I don't understand the 2 previous trades, but I'm not gonna go there. But I like what I see right now.
That was what I was gonna say. Like, if you're building a defense, walk me through this. I saw someone say that Chase Young didn't want to work. I don't know. Montez Sweat just signs a big deal. Was it a matter they weren't going to be able to sign these guys? What was the deal there?
I feel like something was wrong in-house business-wise. I don't think the relationship was too good between the 2 guys, because it doesn't make any sense for me for an organization to trade 2 premier pass rushers in the game to, out of the organization. Just know what kind of guy, the upside both guys have. Montez Sweat is tremendous pass rushers as far as Chase Young. It just don't make no sense to me. But at the same time, I just feel like it was more personal than anything.
Yeah, it felt like that because, look, correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm starting an NFL team, I got to have a quarterback. I got to have wide receivers. I got to have a left tackle. And I for damn sure better have somebody rush the passer, because if you let those guys sit back there, I don't care who it is, they're going to kill you.
Right. I mean, I thought they had something going great there. They got 4 first-rounders across the board. That's hard to find, except you. I think the only team has that is Philadelphia Eagles, maybe. But other than that, man, they was definitely building a Super Bowl team. Now, I don't see them finding any other 2 guys in the draft that can do what those 2 guys potentially could have did.
Hey, Jason, what'd you think? The Cowboys were sitting there, you know what, 1st and goal on the 4. Next thing you know, they're playing 4th down from the frickin' 22. That was a mess. What'd you think?
Man, I didn't sleep well last night, man. It was a roller coaster ride, man. And it goes down the game of inches. The tight end, man, just think about his knee. All we need is like another inch or 2. It's a touchdown. The game is totally different. So, we all know the NFL, NFL football is a game of inches. But, yeah, it was a great game, and I'm looking forward to December 10th when they come to our house, and we're gonna beat the crap out of them.
What was the biggest difference playing for the Cowboys or playing for the Redskins?
Biggest difference, I think, the facilities. But both organizations ran their business pretty much the same. It was similar for us how they treated the players. Dan was great to us, great to the team. He was always around like Jerry. But just the facilities wasn't up to par like, Jerry's world. It's going to be hard to top that anyway. So, but that's the only difference as far as playing for the 2 different teams.
How big a rival? You played until 16 and you were on both sides. Is that still a massive rivalry in your mind?
Yes, I tell you what, Dallas is hated more than Redskins. When I got to Washington, they really hate Dallas. It wasn't the same as when I played for Dallas. It was different, man. You can lose every freaking game. If you beat Dallas, you get free steaks, you get to go to nightclubs free, whatever. Just beat Dallas. They got shirts made, just beat Dallas. They don't give a care about nothing else.
When you're inside and you're at Dallas, do they talk about that whole America's team thing?
You know what? Nah, it's kind of like it's a proven thing right now. And I'm gonna tell you this. Here's why. You got to understand, playing for the Dallas Cowboys, I call it the gift they keep on giving. I've been retired 7-8 years now, and I'm still treated like a king.
Really?
I go places, I'm treated well, and people got to understand that it's the number one watched organization on TV, whether they win or lose. And just on top of that, what Jerry Jones do for the game of football and for other owners, how he share revenue and such things like that. So you gotta crown the king when it's time to crown the king, and we are always be America's team.
Dak Prescott good enough to lead a team to the Super Bowl?
From what I seen last night, yes. That's the first time I ever saw him focused and not. He just had a different look in his eyes last night that he wanted it. And not just going, sometimes he looked like he go through the motion. He's not really locked in. But last night, I saw a different Dak. He played his butt off last night. He played well enough to win. If a couple of things would have swung our way, we could have easily won that game.
Hey, Jason, C.J. Stroud is throwing for 470s, 14-1 touchdowns to interceptions. You played against great quarterbacks, whether they were rookies or whatever. How difficult is that to do? I mean, to do what he's doing does not seem to be the easiest thing in the world. He's making it look easy.
Yeah, I mean, when you took that high, the expectations are high, and he exceeded all his expectations as of right now. But I'm a guy like this. I don't crown him that early. You I'm from the show me state. You got to keep doing it week in and week out, and he has been, and I'm rooting for him. But he's just a rookie quarterback. You got a ways to go before I say he's that good, but he's definitely exceeded his expectations thus far.
A good friend of mine, Reggie Jones, played football at Grambling, and he tells me Grambling is the greatest football school in the country. Now, he's older than you. He graduated. He was over there, when Grambling had Doug Williams and those guys, and he makes fun of me because I went to Indiana, and we stink all the time. But his thing is Grambling's the greatest football in the world. More Grambling, less everything else.
It really is, man. Grambling has been a feeder. We started football back in the day. We'd go a little history when we had, first-round draft picks every year, week in and week out. To the big boys like Indiana start, giving these guys money, pulling them away. So we kind of like the feeder. We started this real big time football that we call SEC ball and stuff like that. So we are the greatest. We the ones who started all the talent around the NCAA football.
I know. That's what he keeps telling me. He's like, you guys don't even understand. And I'm wait a second. I studied Eddie Robinson when I was coaching. I read books on Eddie Robinson. So we don't fight because he'd beat my ass, and I don't need that in my life. But, I got no defense because Indiana, we've stunk since, 1967. I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing. Hey, I appreciate you, Jason. Thanks for taking a few minutes with us, my friend.
Man, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun, man. Appreciate you, man.
There you go. Jason Hatcher played in the NFL a long time from Grambling State University. If you don't know who Eddie Robinson is, do yourself a favor. Read up on Coach Robinson. One of the all-time great men to ever walk the sideline. Now, I understand as people get older, we forget about the past. I get that. But Eddie Robinson, great coach, great man, great mentor, great educator. Thanks to Jason for coming on. All right. A lot of you are responding to our emails. A lot of you are responding to our voicemail. I don't know if this is good or not. I haven't decided whether or not this is good. All right, first up, my man, Steve Clemenson. Hey, Dan, it's an email. What's going on in the state of Michigan? Between Michigan and Michigan State, it's like you have crime incorporated. That's an old mafia. Hey, Steve's my guy. He's from the East Coast. It's like you have crime incorporated. It's like the Michigan mob with perverts. Ron Rivera can go to hell. He hates America. He hates free speech. He's a little Napoleon that owes Del Rio an apology and a big fat check. See, this is the kind of email we've got. We got opinion, and you can rip me, but it all doesn't have to be ripping me. We got opinion. Look, here's the deal, Steve, and you know this. The pervert thing is out of control. I mean, look, this goes back to Larry Nassar. How many sex assaults are there at Michigan State? And now you've got to catch a predator with a low staff member of Harbaugh's staff. So let's go through this. Harbaugh's staff had Shemi Schembechler, who, oh, by the way, had a bunch of racist tweets. What are you doing? Harbaugh's staff has a guy the FBI is in there, his offensive coordinator, is being investigated for cyber crimes. I'm being told it's hacking into other teams' coaches' computers to get practice tape, to get practice plans, to get scouting report, all that stuff. What are we doing? Now you got this little cretin, this military guy who's running around stealing signs. And on top of it, you got perverts everywhere. I mean, you can't have, look, Michigan State, you couldn't swing a dead cat without a sexual assault in its athletic department. Harbaugh, you can't swing a dead cat without somebody getting investigated. I say suspend Harbaugh until the rest of the year. Don't give him an extension. Figure out whether he's allowed to coach in college football again if the evidence is that they gained an unfair advantage. That's fixing games. Just my opinion. Next! This is from John. Prior to the Colts going on an exhaustive search and hiring Shane Steichen, Ballard hired maybe the worst trio of coaches of all time. Josh McDaniels was first, only to back out as he saw the impending dumpster fire. Then came Frank Reich and Fluss to lead the Colts. All three were arguably the worst head coaches in the NFL this year. Ballard gets a lot of flack for player personnel decision, but his crowning glory of ineptness might be his run of bad coaching hires. John, how many years have I said? It's a 10-year program here. And if you think Ballard's going to be fired anytime soon, you're wrong. My sources inside the Colts tell me if he wasn't fired after last year, buckle up. Unless this thing goes off the rails. Yes, he hired Eberflus, who's one of the worst coaches. Yes, he hired Reich, who may be the worst coach. And, of course, he hired Josh McDaniels. People forget that, but Josh McDaniels was hired, and then he actually backed out on the Colts. Now, I'm not even going to say, I will not say that he hired Jeff Saturday as well. I'm going to put that one on Irsay. I think Irsay needs that one. But, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, look, I've talked about the personnel decisions, and here in Indianapolis, people love the fact that Ballard has, quote, great drafts. Huh? I always say this about recruiting. The best recruiting class in Indiana University basketball history was Bobby Wilkerson, Scott May, Jim Cruz, Quinn Buckner, Tom Abernathy. Period. They went undefeated. In a 2-year run, that particular recruiting class went 64-1. 2 straight undefeated years. Win! And then I'll tell you had a great draft. Win! And then I'll give you an A for the draft. I'm not slapdick Johnny like Matt Miller, some guy that never played, has a little blank boy haircut on ESPN, trying to be popular by giving draft grades, never played, never coached. Matt Miller, my ass. I mean, I'm watching this idiot, and I'm just looking at him going, yeah, the only thing he played with was himself. Anyway, long story short, let's be honest. The coaching hires have been awful. The quarterback picks have been awful. The personnel picks have been awful. What are you going to do? Dan, back in the day, here's the deal. Here's next. This is from Jeff King in Fort Fun. Back in the day, teams would wear black bands on their jerseys to honor the death of someone directly connected to a program. What are the chances Indiana basketball team sporting a black band to honor Bob Knight? Indiana has an R, MK, and 3 stars patches on both the boys and girls, men and women's uniforms this year. So instead of a black armband or a black patch right here, there were a RMK with 3 stars. Good for them. The bigger question is, will they do it when I die? Which they should. Anyway, John Baglin says, Dan, I often listen to you because you do a great job covering college sports, but I'm confused. With the passing of Bob Knight, you have been glowing in your praise of him. In the past, you vilified the guy. The guy hated you, and you once said on TV that you have respect for him. Why the change? The guy didn't hate me, and I have no respect for him. Absolutely no respect for him. 0, zip, none. But if you listen to my glowing reviews, I talked about playing for him and coaching for him. That's totally separate of what happened after. when he could not have been a bigger jackass. So I don't mean to confuse you, and I appreciate you hanging on it. Well, I never heard that Bob Knight hated me. I don't care. And I never said, I just have no respect for him. What he tried to do to me at ESPN was awful. I was just doing my job. I never bothered anybody at ESPN. Never. I did my job. I was the best they ever had calling Big Ten games. I was the best they ever had in the studio, at least according to Norby Williamson and the fellas and gals at ESPN. Knight tried to get me demoted because he wanted Big Ten games. He didn't want to do the Big 12 games. They said, no, Dakich is better than you. What are you going to do? I was. And Knight could not have been a bigger jackass when I left the staff. He went into a number of high school coaches and said, well, now that Dakich is gone, and he did it to a bunch of my friends who told Knight to his face, you're wrong. Couple called me. I called Knight, called him out on it, called his fat ass kid Timmy, called him out on it. So I can separate, and I don't know how more adult men can't do that. I don't know how adult men are not able to separate playing and coaching for a guy and then what happened after. Is it just all encompassing? I mean, you say Knight hate me. Show me proof of that. Show me evidence of that. I will give you evidence of where I said on the Dan Patrick, I had no respect for him at the end. But he was a great coach, best coach in college basketball, treated people fairly when you worked. I hated my last 2 years coaching for him, and I'd have gone to Gary Streets and sanitation to get away. And I did have to punch him in the chest, but what are you going to do? It's part of life. It's hard being an alpha male. It's hard being an adult male with a penis. It is. You guys are incredible. I don't understand. Well, if you don't understand, I'm glad you asked. Voicemails from Evansville, Indiana. Who we got here?
Hey, Dan. Just wanted to say congrats on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. I know you deserved it. Thanks. Bye.
What did he say? Congrats on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame? I did not know. Well, congratulations to me. If I'm in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame, I didn't know it. Now, I know the other day, or this summer, I got into the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame down in Evansville. Run that back again.
Hey, Dan. Just wanted to say congrats on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. I know you deserved it. Thanks. Bye.
Didn't know I was. I was in the Indiana Sports Hall of Fame. There's two of them. Last 2 years, they've called me and said, you missed by one vote. I'm like, yeah, really? Okay. I'm like the Barry Bonds of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. I have no idea if I'm in the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame. If I am, thank you. If I'm not, thank you. I don't know. Brad from North Carolina, que pasa?
Dakich, this is Brett, North Carolina. Way to cut your hair and man up. Dude, I'm going to tell you, I had a couple of tears in my eyes while you were talking about Coach. And even though I'm sure there was some bad with all the good, you showed a lot of class today, and I appreciate it for one as a Hoosier. So thank you. I think you and Knight are two peas in a pod. That's what caused all the angst. You guys are exactly alike. Have a great day.
Yeah, maybe. That's why I always said, people always say, well, Coach Knight molded you. Well, my dad did. But I've said forever that I'd sit there sometimes and go, damn, that's exactly my dad. That's why I stayed there 16 years, because it fit me. Now, I think Purdue would have fit me too because of Gene Cady. But I remember seeing Norm Sloan. Norm Sloan, who won national championship, was a coach at Florida, came to my house. And I was amused by him, but he walks out, I go, Dad, I ain't going to play for that guy. Are you nuts? But when Cady came in, I really liked him. I think I was the first recruit he ever came in to see. He got my college teammate, Jimmy Bullock, who was a great player at Purdue. Great player. And you know what? Jimmy had a fantastic experience. I think I would have had a fantastic experience, but there were some guys it was just like, hey, man, I ain't going to that guy. No chance in hell am I doing that. All right, let's see. That's only two. What happened to Gritty? Gritty said she left 2 voicemails. She said she froze up on one. Is there any more? Are we done? If we're done, put it on the screen. If you want to leave me a voicemail, we'll play them every day. Go to our OutKick voicemail at 92. Why do they always show me with my mouth open? I'm like a mouth breather. My dad used to do this later in life. I'm like, Dad, give your chin a rest. Because that's what he used to tell us kids when we talk too much. Give your chin a rest. And we would put it on the counter. Dad, I'm giving it a rest. You know how kids do. 929-687-3841. Or you can email outkickdakich@gmail.com. You know what? To quote the great Clubber Lang, I got a lot of mo. I got a lot of mo when we come back.
Welcome into OutKick the show. I am Clay Travis, your fearless leader.
I am going to continue to argue that sports is one of the great unifying forces in all of American life.
ESPN is a sinking ship. Democrats are now the party of the white, woke college graduate.
We live in a land of participation trophies.
You gotta lean into the turns. You really gotta lean into the turns.
Very difficult to go back-to-back years in the NFL with the number 1 overall pick.
Is it fair for people to be upset with Barbie?
I've been out of LA long enough to have forgotten that libs, no matter how ridiculous the scenario, are gonna live. What have you seen firsthand of how this has affected you in the plant and your fellow employees? Under Joe Biden, the Taliban has retaken Afghanistan. Putin has invaded Ukraine. So if there was ever a time for freaking aliens to inhabit and conquer Earth, now would be that time.
You're born a male, play with males. You're born a female, play with females. Don't at me about it. The American people are being cheated. We, ladies and gentlemen, are being cheated.
I made the call to end the Me Too movement. And today I'm going to continue making that case. And that's just a way to further taunt these women, to make them feel less than, to make them realize that this has just become a big joke.
And we were able to see you guys on the ground with your signs supporting. That was huge.
They were saying, oh, it's only 1 or 2. That's rubbish. And we all know that's rubbish. Once those trans-identifying males were able to succeed, it just encouraged.
So a friend of mine yesterday, true story, got hit by a drunk driver. He got smashed. His name is Manny. His name isn't really Manny, but he played left field for us, and he was insane, so we called him Manny Ramirez, and he drank Bud Heavy. He's a big, strong guy, played basketball at Earlham College. So here's the deal. So he gets his leg smashed up. Some drunk driver bangs into him. He catches him between a car. He gets out. He's limping over. A pedestrian broke the window of the guy who was driving. The guy got out, and my man Manny knocked his out yesterday. Yeah, he did. And he sent us pictures of his leg mangled. He sent us pictures from being in the ambulance, and he sent pictures of the guy getting his knocked out. I love the people I hang with. It's a good life around these parts. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it is time. It is a Monday tradition like no other. Stock up. Stock down, ladies and gentlemen. Stock up. Oh, my God. How easy is it to score in the NBA? Victor Wembanyama. Victor Wembanyama is 18 years old, straight from France. The French are invading the NBA. Victor Wembanyama went for 38. Victor Wembanyama has come into the NBA and dominated the NBA. Now, I'm guessing the NBA is going to have great ratings. I'm guessing the NBA is going to be one of those deals where it's like, well, you know, man, he's a freak, he's a unicorn. I don't even know who's a unicorn anymore because it feels like you can walk into the NBA, there'd be an 18-year-old Frenchman. Frenchman? What in the hell? And dominate the NBA. Wembanyama is killing them. Wembanyama is dominating them. Wembanyama is beating that ass, as we said in the hood. Man, aren't you a little embarrassed, NBA? I mean, a little bit, that a guy can just come into the league at 18 years old and French. Who's the last tough Frenchman? Maurice Richard? I mean, there's French hockey players that are tough, but damn, I know Tony Parker was tough, but his wife was, or he was stooping Brett Barry, his teammate's wife, so how tough was he? He's a coward. You don't stoop another dude's wife. Anyway, good for Wembanyama, good for old Pop. We'll get to hear about Pop, but at the end of the day, man, Wembanyama, holy cow. How do you just come into the league and kick everybody in the pacones like that? I don't even know what pacones are. I was going to say package and cojones, and you know what? I should just stick with sack. Much respect, C.J. Stroud. Look, I said I didn't like C.J. Stroud's eyes. I didn't like his temperament. I was wrong, at least now, and I am with Jason Hatcher. I'm not ready to crown this guy just yet, but damn, is he off to a good start? And here's the stat that I love, 14 touchdowns, 1 interception. Well, you know, when they get film on him, they got film on him. The hell are you talking about? The dude's been balling. We're 8 games in. We're almost halfway there. Oh, we are half. Let's just call it what it is. We're halfway there. And this dude's dropping what? 14-1? Are you kidding me? What's wrong with you peoples? The dude is a stud. I I'm like 90% saying I'm wrong. I'm wrong. Look up Potsy Weber. You guys wouldn't know who Potsy Weber or the Fonz is, but this is the Fonz talking to Potsy about being Does Dan Dakich's wife have a budget in bail money? No. No, I've never been in jail. Hello, Gritty. No, I've never been in jail. I have never been in jail. I never planned to be in jail. I got Catholic guilt. I could never cheat on my wife. I could never commit a crime. Every time I do something even remotely mean, it wakes me up in the middle of the night. It's horrible. But anyway, Josh Dobbs, stock up, my man. Stock the hell up. Stock up, because you just showed and goed. You showed up and you went and kicked Dupayash. You showed up with a team that you hadn't been around, and next thing you know, you're kicking the living hell out of everybody and doing it late. You know, I've said this before and I'll say this again. Toughness wins. Not the kind of toughness that means you got to fight, but the kind of toughness that says I can show up and I will compete every single day. And that's who I got to believe Joshua Dobbs is. I got to believe Joshua Dobbs is that guy. He shows up, he competes like a mother, he studies, he's a pro, he does his job, and next thing you know, ladies and gentlemen, he gets it done. That's a pro. A coward is not a guy that wins a fight. A coward's a guy that cheats on someone else's wife. It's a coward. That's why I keep talking about the Indy Star here. It's what they are, who they are. Anyway, stock down. Stock down, USC football. I'm going to get into them firing their defensive coordinator, but I'm watching USC football the other day, and it's a big game against Oregon. Now, usually, at least when I grew up with, USC would go ahead and win that game. USC would be physically tough. Anthony Munoz, Ronnie Lott, two of the greatest examples of toughness at USC. These are old school guys. USC, even when they had Lendell White in that crew, still pretty tough. Fast forward now. USC, soft as my ass. And by the way, for 61 years old, there's not a hair on my ass. Once in a while, my wife will get to be rubbing going, wow, that's a baby's ass. I know. I'm working on it to make it a little more rock hard. I'm doing some squats and some snatches, you know. But anyway, USC, soft as my backside. I mean, when I say soft, I mean soft. They couldn't guard me. I text my boys, Phil Sack and Tom Fine, and I'm like, hey, USC can't guard me. Now, it was 11:15, whatever, at night, and they were probably into some bourbon, so I didn't get any reaction until the next morning. But damn, In fact, all of college football don't guard nobody. Alabama, shoop, 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 shoop. LSU until Jaden Daniels got hooked, shoop, shoop. You got to be a bad team in the Big Ten. You got to have thick ankles, as my boy Rob Lemley would say, producer at ESPN, about the Big Ten. It's a thick ankle league. It is. All right, last year, big fat coach, Brian Daboll. Big fat pizza eating coach on the sideline, came over from the Buffalo Bills, looked like he was going to explode, and all the little writer boy, Daboll's our guy, look at how cool he is. Yeah, okay. Fast forward to this year. Their quarterback, Daniel Jones, has an ACL. They're playing a guy, Tommy DeVito, who wasn't any good at Syracuse or at Illinois, and they stinks. They absolutely stinks. So, what does that mean? Well, that means that maybe Brian Daboll has to have a stacked deck to win. They always said this about my coach, not my mentor, but my coach, Bob Knight. He can win and beat you with his. He can take yours and beat you with yours. That's a pretty good compliment for a coach. Guess what? Brian Daboll can't win unless he's got a stacked deck. He can't even score. They got the brakes beat off of him by Antonio. I cheated at Arizona State, but now I got a better job, Pierce, who looks like to be the savior, at least initially, with the Oakland Raiders. But remember, Jeff Saturday last year, first game, beat the Raiders as the interim coach. Be careful with that whole, savior. Hell, I started out 3-1 until we had a little gunplay among our team when I was the interim coach at Indiana. And I don't care what you say. Wooden couldn't have won with what I was dealing with. Mac Jones, I'm sorry, Mac. I love you. You're arrogant. You're from Alabama. I liked you in college. You won a championship and won me a lot of money. Oh, man. But you and the New England Patriots, you, to quote Carlos Zambrano, you stinks. Yeah, you stinks. You guys are 2-7. You stink. You're awful. Now, look, that may be acceptable in Chicago. You know what I mean? DD has an affair with his ex-wife's boyfriend. Oh, they're getting nasty on this. I couldn't do it. First of all, this thing is exit only. Second of all, it's not my thing, Jason. I'm sorry. It's just not. And third, Catholic guilt would get me on so many levels having a homosexual affair, I couldn't even tell you. My brain would explode. But thank you for participating. I appreciate it. All right, here's the other deal. Mac Jones, you keep throwing the ball to the other team. You don't come through in the clutch. I got nothing for you. You're in New England. There's a history there. There's a tradition, and it goes quick. I mean, it wasn't that long ago when we here at Indianapolis were the team of the decade. Won more games than anybody in 2000 to 2010, 90 to 2000, all that crap. Indiana, the Indianapolis Colts can't beat you-know-what. By the way, Kent Sterling and I are going to do a Two Big Brains. That's right, Two Big Brains coming up at 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. He was sick last week. It's all local. It's only about the Colts and IU basketball and Purdue basketball. That's it, and we will be doing it. Yeah. Hey, Dan, the Patriots are bad, but we will beat the Colts. Yeah, I don't think so. Look, I'm not saying you won't. Colts always have a thing with Belichick, but yeah, I don't think so. Back to USC. So USC stinks. USC is absolutely god-awful. And Lincoln Riley fires the defensive coordinator. And I got to tell you, two things. One, good for Lincoln Riley. I mean, what the hell? Good for the defensive coordinator. He gets paid not to work. And that, according to my friend Mark Packer of SiriusXM, used to be SiriusXM Radio of ACC Network, that, my friends, should be the goal of the American worker. Suspended with pay. I had a week of it. It was glorious. I didn't adhere to journalistic principles. That was the headline. They asked me, hey, man, you mind if we put this in? I go, I don't care what you put in with it. But anyway, so Dabo Swinney gets rid of a guy. He's got a scapegoat. Dabo Swinney hired the guy, so it's really not a scapegoat if we're going Omerta, our thing. But anyway, that's La Cosa Nostra. Anyway, if we're going mafia, yeah, the guy that brought in the guy is as, well, you know what he is. He is as culpable as the guy. Lincoln Riley It's getting a little hot in here, so take off all your clothes. No, don't. Feel so hot, I'm going to take my clothes off. That's a song, Dylan and Nick. You guys don't even know who the Fonz is, don't at me. Anyway, Dabo Sweeney is saying, stock up, ladies and gentlemen. That's right, stock up on Clemson football. Well, here's what he's saying. We're at a low point. You want to buy stock? You buy stock in us now because of heart and God and blah, 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 blah. We haven't had much go our way this year, Dabo said. The one thing that has shown up every week is the heart and fight from Clemson. I know we're down. Everyone's throwing dirt on us. But if Clemson's a stock, you better buy all you freaking can right now. Good for him. Hey, man, here's what I like about Dabo Sweeney. Dabo Sweeney ain't afraid. Dabo Sweeney is not afraid at all. He knows he's being punched in the head, and when you get a win against Notre Dame, even though it's against, God dang, Marcus Freeman is so cute. Ooh, Nick says, I am the Fonz. I like it. Anyway, Marcus Freeman is so cute, and that quarterback's so cute. Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're right. Notre Dame finally had a tough schedule for once. Good for them. All right, you got to see this. I love kids, and I love adults that make kids do funny stuff. And now, some of you, as something went flying in my teeth, some of you are going to say, that's disgusting. I can't believe that a young child would be asked to do this. Well, watch, and then I want some voicemails on this. Let me ask you a question. Do you think this is okay? Because I don't think I would do this with Andrew or Laura, but I think it's okay. I do. I ain't got no problem with it. Here it is. Check this out. Yeah, play it a couple times. There you go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Look at everybody's rolling. You know, look, I was swearing when I was 7. Gretchen and Jennifer Wellman ratted my brother and I out. He was 9, I was 7. Had a big gap in my teeth. I was spitting between my teeth, running the football. So don't at me about this kid. This kid's doing what he should do. Let him know, kid. So you got a suite full of Eagles fans and a suite full of Cowboys fans. Can you imagine some blue-haired nose ring that is on 7 pieces of acid just got done fisting somebody saying, hey, this is gross? Or the girl that's pulling down kidnap signs on telephone poles. They're the ones that would say this is sick. Real men, real American men and women like you and me, we think this is awesome. I didn't think we'd get fisting into the show today. I didn't think we would. I'm not sure how we did that, but somebody mentioned that the other day. I don't know, and I just thought it was nuts. All right. The road, ladies and gentlemen, that's the greatest thing about streaming. You say basically whatever you want. Not anything you want, but mostly anything you want. All right, I got so many texts today coming in. People are out of their mind because so many more people are starting to listen to this show now that we've been freed from jail. Anyway, long story short, here's what I'm going to do. I want you to sit with me on this, all right? We're going to win a boatload of money. Look, I'm starting with $1,000. I may put 10 grand in. I don't know what I'm going to do. But I'm starting with 1.7. And tonight starts college basketball. And there are a ton of games. But we're going to be smart about this. And if you want to fade me, good for you. I hope you do. I hope you fade the living hell out of me because you're going to lose. Now, if you stay with me, you're going to win. The dog is snoring over here. I mean, it's like sleeping next to frickin', I don't know, Big Ed, the farmer, who's this big, sleeping one off. The dog is just snoring. Anyway, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to bet on games that we think have, in my mind, a better than 80% chance. 80% chance of winning. Now, if I were you, I'd get rid of the hook. The game that we're taking tonight, and there's going to be others, but the game that we're taking tonight, and because there's about 6 games that are going to hit, and they're going to hit really well. One of them, ladies and gentlemen, and the one I've already taken, is Notre Dame minus 8.5 against Niagara. I'm not that worried about the hook because I believe this is a double-digit win for Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame, you guys don't pay attention to this, okay? You guys think this doesn't matter, but it absolutely matters. When you play these exhibition games, and I learned this, when we had good teams at Indiana, we beat them by 7,000. I mean, we just beat the hell out of them. When we struggled with exhibition teams, like we did one time when former Washington coach Lorenzo Romar, fresh off playing for the Bucks, went stupid on us, and we had to get a game winner by Steve Hart. You know your team sucks. It's that simple. Don't at me about it. I'm just telling you. So anyway, I'm going to take, and I'm putting a lot on this. I'm not doubling my money. I got 1.7. But the 700 is going to be on this, on Notre Dame 8.5. Now, hey, am I 100? I don't tell you there's any locks. There is no such thing as a lock. I don't want to hear about a lock. Well, this is a lock. There's no lock. Look, we could be up 11, and the dude hits a 3, and we're screwed. I can see that happening. That's why it's probably pretty good to get rid of the hook. But Notre Dame won their exhibition games by 1 million. Now, you think that doesn't matter. I think it does matter. Notre Dame's going to win by double digits. 8.5 is, last I looked, not double digits. And the reason I got it was because I figured once I announced it, the line was going to go up, and I think it's already at 9. You got to understand the power that this show has. There is a bunch of, hey, look, games that we're betting on. I like Purdue minus 19.5 against Samford. 3 or 4 years ago, the Samford head coach, true story, was coaching high school. He's a really good high school coach. C.M. Newton's son hired him. Martin Newton is the AD at Samford. He hired him. They're going to get beat by 672. This is an interesting line. I was going to take this one. It was 5.5, Oregon giving Georgia. Georgia's second leading scorer is now playing at Oregon. But there's a couple players out for Oregon. I don't know if you want to touch that. I don't know. 32 points is what Tennessee's given Tennessee Tech. See, I don't want to touch that either. That seems to me to be too sexy. Rutgers is given 6 to Princeton. Now, I don't want to touch that either. Princeton's either going to be like jacked playing, Rutgers lost some guys, or Princeton's going to have a little bit of a hangover and it ain't going to go well. The 8.5, though, is staring me in the face. Oh, baby, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you, 8.5, and I'm loving what I am seeing. There's a lot of good games. Actually, there's not a lot of good games, but there's a lot of good places to bet. I'll put them out, and maybe I'll make a video right before it starts. I just need a little more time to research some of these others. I love the Notre Dame 8.5 against Niagara. Love it. I'm in with 9.5, Purdue and Samford. I do. Samford's going to shoot a blank ton of threes. Mackey Arena's going to be jumping. Edie's going to get it inside and score 50. And away we go. Look for Kaufman-Wren to be a player this year. Dude needs to take a shower once in a while. But hey, apparently somebody told me this or I read this somewhere. He doesn't like taking showers. Don't you get rashes? I don't know. Anyway, you can't talk about kids like that. Let me explain something. Let's get this out of the way immediately. 2 things about college basketball. 1, I'm the best guy to break down college basketball you will ever hear from. And 2, I don't want to hear about these guys being kids. When I played, I wasn't a kid. Adults came at me. People, who cares? And they're being paid. So they're employees. And I don't want to hear about it. Just like any employee. You walk into McDonald's. Some 20-year-old employee screws up the order. You're going to tell them. You walk into Mackey. Some 20-year-old goes 1 for 20 from the 3-point line. You're going to know. I don't boo people, but I tell you what's what. Let's make this pact. Make this your go-to spot for college basketball, and I'll give you the goods. Not the betting goods. I'll give you the insight and the information every single day. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is what we do. Haven't had much politics lately, but we do put it in woke-a-dope. Ladies and gentlemen, woke-a-dope me. Woke-a-dope, woke-a-doke-a-dope, woke-a-dope. Bidenomics, the rising cost of voting stupid. So yesterday, Lee's been out of town since Thursday. She'll be home around 4 or 5 o'clock. I ran out of everything. I'm saying eggs, bread, fruits. I ran out of everything. And it wasn't so bad because my official diet, 7,910, started yesterday. But I went to the store. I got to tell you, when I was divorced, 10, 12, whatever it was, 10 years ago, I went to the store. I had to cook for my kids. Kids live with me. I made them dinner every night. I made them breakfast if they were home. I made them lunch. What can I tell you? It's what I did. It was fun. I learned to cook. But I also learned to shop. I am stunned. I called Lee from the store. I go, can you believe the prices of everything? Like everything costs $10 or more. Stuff that used to cost $4.50, $6, $10. Don't even get me started with eggs. Don't even get me started with iced tea. Don't even get me started with Diet A&W root beer, which used to be about $4. Now it's like $6.99 if you got a coupon. Bidenomics sucks. You suck, Joe Biden. I ain't happy with you. I went to the store yesterday. I got gouged, and dummies are going to vote for this idiot again. In Indianapolis, there's no way in hell our mayor, who was absent, allegedly in rehab, I don't know, absent during the riots, is running ads about his opponent voting for Trump. Who cares? Where were you during the riots? And the idiots that live here in Indianapolis, I live in Indy, we're going to vote him in. I guarantee you we vote him in. Ucha Capesta, my eyes are burning. Next! When you can barely speak, but you see an ice cream shop. All right, speaking of shopping yesterday, I love ice cream. I don't like ice cream. I love it. And Breyers has a great no-carb ice cream. So yesterday, I'm shopping. I get the Breyers. You put a little jelly in it. Boom. I'm with Joe Biden on this. Ice cream, good. Economy sucks. Foreign policy sucks. Lying sucks. Joe Biden sucks. Next. Yeah, that's pretty funny. That is pretty freaking funny. Make candy corn great again. There you are, Donald Trump. At first, I just thought, Dylan, you were making candy corn great again, Nick and Ryan. Now I see what you did there. I like what you did there. I'd eat it. Next. Yeah, there's our guy, Connor Stalions. I don't really remember this. I'm sure he walked up to me. It looks like it's outside the truck at Michigan. I think he walked up and said, hey, can I have a picture? Somebody posted this on the internet. He was trying to steal my savvy. He was trying to steal my broadcast style. He was trying to steal my Musk. Yeah, he was. I don't know if that's him or not. It sure looks like him. You guys think that's him? I kind of do. I don't know. The hell do I know? Don't be stealing my Musk, you sign stealer, you. But anyway, Pete Thamel, last thing. Pete Thamel has announced that, or he put on Twitter, I don't know if that's announced, don't expect anything to happen with Michigan for at least the next 48 hours. Then we'll see what's going on. I got to blow leaves. I got to pack leaves. I live in the forest. Leaves suck. I kind of like it, though. And by the way, it is Two Big Brains, Kent Sterling, Dan Dakich, all Colts, Pacers, IU. Coming up, go to the Two Big Brains YouTube channel, and then keep it here later. Clay's got it. Then the boys from Hot Mike, I'll be on with them at 3:40. Like, subscribe, comment. Do it right now. I'll wait for you. Do it right now. Like, good. Subscribe. Let's go. And comment. Thanks for being here. We had a record crowd. Nick and Nick Part 2. Thank you. Ryan and Dylan. Awesome stuff. Beth the Booker. You rock. Katie. And of course, Haley and Aaron and Aaron and Aaron and Aaron and Gary and Clay. Two Big Brains coming up 5 minutes. See you.